Welcome to the broadcast. I hope that wasn't too loud. I did that directly into the mic. Look, I'm not calling for some kind of violent protesting action, okay? I think that the American people just want a little bit of a switch up here. There's mass disapproval when it comes to the current administration, and all in all, nobody's really satisfied with how things are going. They could be going better in almost every single direction. Economically, the techno oligarchs are... Thank you. Wow, I'm being heckled. Dang, shawty, like, you free after... Stop distracting me. We're talking about serious stuff now. Okay? Now, it seems like I am the very last individual on the planet to come out publicly against Trump. In fact, Fox News themselves are now ragging on Donald Trump. Who thought we would have seen the day? This is Fox News making fun of... Well, let me put on the headphones. Can you be my white knight? Stop rizzing me right now.
Nobel Prize more than me.
Venezuelan opposition leader Maria Corina Machado gifting him hers.
Is that what it was about, ego? Because you didn't win anything. He's ready to receive his participation trophy.
Participation trophies go against the spirit of masculinity.
We've gone too much to a participation trophy.
How did they make this about... You know what? Never mind.
Culture rather than a championship trophy culture.
Credit fights always seem...
It's kind of funny that they tried to turn it into like a gender...
kind of petty. You can take all the credit he wants, but it's a participation trophy.
See, they're all making fun of him. It's crazy how quickly this flip happens. Sometimes they just randomly flip. Hello, Emma. I'm going to... You're going to what? I mean, to you. All right, bro. This guy's trying to disrupt the broadcast. Look, I understand that I'm the very last person to speak out against Trump. Even the comments in Fox News. This is unheard of. This is the Fox News official channel, and the comments are, give the toddler his pacifier, maybe he'll stop howling. So look, we got to keep up this pressure, because Trump kind of despises it when he's being called pathetic, and he really loses his power. But anyway, look, here's the thing. Don't let him ruin your free speech. Go off, King. Yeah, exactly. Okay, look, here's the thing, okay? There's a reason why I finally come out against this. Okay, and I need to share my story. I was 15 when Jeffrey Epstein died. And you see, I was on the island. And so I decided that I would tattoo the names of all of these sick criminals on my skin. So that way I would never forget who they were. And I would make sure that they would be held accountable. Okay? So it's time to show you who these criminals really are. What the... What happened? Did it get redacted? What? Okay, so... Unfortunately, my tattoo got redacted. So we're gonna have to switch up the strategy. Alright, look, I hope you liked that joke, because we're going to be talking about the Epstein files. I predicted this. Wait, Paxton, you predicted that I was a victim of Epstein's Island? Wait, what? You know, never mind. Anyway, what is there's like drama happening in my chat right now. Okay, we're looking at the Epstein files. First of all, it must be crazy what's in those files, because they keep on inciting wars. Now they're trying to go to war with Greenland. They've kind of backed off a little bit. But there's so much happening. There's so much distraction politics just to stop the American people from... Did you just... I'm about to unmod you. You just timed out Emma? Anyway. So... It's complete revolution in my chat. This is exactly what we wanted. But we wanted it to be peaceful. You're just violating free speech. LeMayo, she said sexy arms. Okay, good. Ban her permanently. Don't ban her permanently. Moving on. Look, the Epstein files. This is some terrible stuff. I actually don't want to go through this one. I did read this one. It's pretty sickening. 133216 file number. This was released in 2024. You can go through it yourself. Again, it's 33216 in case I reportedly die by self-inflicted wounds with the gunshot to my back, self-inflicted. No, that's not going to happen. But anyway, basically, she says that she had tapes. This is the problem. There's so many problems in so many facets. But she said that she had some incriminating tapes, one of the victims, and she wanted to share them, but of course, her and her entire family would be in danger. So at the same time, she didn't want to share them. And so now here we are with no tapes. Even if she did share them, people would probably somehow say they weren't real. Now this has become a double problem because now with AI, it's difficult to trust anything because no administration has actually, look at camera, no. Because no administration has actually been critical of what these techno-oligarchs are doing. It's like we're moving into some authoritarian regime, but it's not really like regular fascism. It's not really Nazis. It's like these techno-oligarchs. Anyway, look, we've got these old people who are behind on everything. Matthew, what's up, Braden? They're behind on everything. These old people don't know what they're doing. We're looking at some Epstein files. And I can't believe I caught the stream. I didn't even tell you that I was going live, so I don't know how that happened. But yeah, it's insane. Donald Trump is out here catching strays because he is, you know, obviously he's somehow part of this. That's very clear. He basically admitted to it because he had these masseuse girls that were taken by Jeffrey Epstein. He seemed very annoyed by that. It seemed like his favorite massage girls were taken by Epstein, and that's where all the beef started. Welcome. You missed the gun show. Wow, watch it, Emma. Emma, stop talking about my arms. Also, if Paxton does that, you will see that he also has a gun show, okay? If you just have like the right angle, it looks fine. I just happened to hit the right angle there. Or there's no guns, okay? I am trying to gain weight though. Anyway, look. Like, dang, shoddy. Like, I'm with Paxton. You can't be trying to steal me out here. No, we're talking about Singapore later. I actually have this link. So anyway, what I was saying, Braden, was that Fox News is going against Trump. The Epstein files have been going against Trump. What the flip is going on? I'm getting a phone call. Everybody's just distracting me. Oh, my mom's calling me. Hey, Mom.
Hey, what'd you call for?
Oh, I called for the wood burning thing. Is it in the house? The Christmas gift.
Oh, yeah, it's on my nightstand. You need it back?
No.
You taking it back?
Nope. Okay, thank you. That's all. Goodbye.
Okay, all right.
Okay, cool. We'll have that next week. All right. Oh, you're reading my whole plan for stream. Oh my gosh. No, it's fine. We're going into the next thing. So, look, here's why I say that the Epstein files must be crazy. Is because Renee Good was shot and killed. Apparently she was a domestic terrorist, mother of 3, dropping off her children. That's what domestic terrorists do, apparently, is they drop off their children and they go home. And then in the way between dropping off their 6-year-olds, they decide that they're going to break bad and Walter White style run over 16 ICE agents. Look, here's the thing. The individual that shot her was completely in the wrong. Number one, he's not even supposed to go in front of the car that's drilled into any sort of officers or military personnel. You're not supposed to go in front of a car. And he was not good at this because the person who shot her, I didn't have this link pulled up, but we're going to find it. The agent was trained to track. Anyway, he was dragged by a car like 6 months before this. So he was already getting run over left and right. This guy is just terrible at avoiding cars, apparently. And then on top of that, here's another very important thing, okay? This is the DOJ, the Department of Justice, United States, okay? Based on this, Firearms may not be discharged solely to disable moving vehicles. Now, it says this, but that's actually not true. It's going to go back on this in a second. Specifically, firearms may not be discharged at moving vehicles unless a person in the vehicle is threatening the officer or another person with deadly force by means other than the vehicle. So not by the vehicle. Let's say that the person has a gun. Well, then you can shoot at the moving vehicle. Or number two, the vehicle is operated in a manner that threatens to cause death or serious physical injury to the officer or others. Okay, so great. So if she was going to run him over, then he is allowed to shoot her. Well, as we understand, no, not this. We're just going to pull up the video. I'm going to mute it though. Right. And it might not show it. Well, anyway, you can clearly see that he doesn't really move until after he starts shooting. Everybody's seen the video. Look, it's like 90% of people understand that he was not in any danger and he could have moved out of the way. Oh, okay, cool. Well, you don't know. Well, you know what? Let's explain this. Okay, let's explain this for the layman. So, Renee Good was here beginning of January. She was a single mother of 3. She was driving around town and then she saw some ICE agents and she parked her car. She actually didn't park her car. She put her car in front of them. Oh my gosh. The video is not that violent, don't worry. Well, you don't see that much violence. It is very violent. Okay. So here you see the ICE agent's point of view. How he does it is it looks like he's getting run over, right? Now, it doesn't even show the rest. But anyway, after this, he's walking. So he doesn't get run over. Oh my gosh, amazing. It shows the whole thing. Good intro. Good luck. You're doing great. I believe in you. Thank you, Emma. Oh my gosh. She's being so nice to me. I decided to be nice to her for one day. And now she's being nice to me. It's amazing. She's not even calling me a cripple. Everything has changed. Back to the video. So here you can see it looks like he's being run over, right? But then, and this is perfect. I'm so glad that they show this. But then you can see that what he's doing is he's just kind of slapping his phone on the car. Sorry, it's not funny. He's just being dramatic is what I'm saying. He's slapping his phone on the car. He's not actually moving out of the way. He's not allowed to shoot her if he can move out of the way. And as you can see, his feet move. Yeah, this left foot where he's putting most of his weight moves at the very last second. So he had the opportunity to move, but he didn't. All right, so why is that important? Well, if we keep on reading this, the vehicle... Okay, so you can shoot at the vehicle if it's going to cause you serious physical injury, okay? If you're an officer of the law and somebody's about to cause you some serious injury, all right, you can shoot at the vehicle. And if no other objectively reasonable means of defense appear to exist, which includes moving out of the path of the vehicle. So if he could move out of the path of the vehicle, then he's not allowed to shoot her. Why is all of this important? I'm staying here, don't worry. Thank you. You said that a while ago. I think I already read that out loud. Professional streamer here. Part-time streamer, actually. Used to be more part-time. Now I'm just completely very small part-time. Anyway, back to this video. So basically this officer, this ICE agent, it's not like a licensed officer. They don't really have training. This ICE agent was completely in the wrong. Again, he's already bad at not getting run over. He got dragged by a car 6 months ago. And they probably should have taken him off duty, but they need people to terrorize citizens, so he's still on duty. And then immediately after, Trump makes a statement that Renee Good is a domestic terrorist, and he defends the ICE agent. Why is this important? This is obviously distraction politics. I say all of this to say that Renee Good was not in the wrong. Renee Good was not a terrorist. And the reason that he calls to the fact that she is a terrorist is distraction politics. He's elevating, he's just bumping up the temperature. And we're seeing this over and over again. This is really what Trump does best. People will say that Trump is an idiot. People will say that he's simple. But then they never actually understand why he does things. You know, they just kind of guess at it, or they don't really know where he's going. If he's so dumb, if he's so simple, then you would be able to predict what he's doing. But that's the point, okay? I believe that Trump is genuinely good at what he does, and what he does is distraction politics. He doesn't do genuine policy. He doesn't really understand economics, or he would have been able to grow his wealth more. In fact, if he had taken his inheritance and put it in the S&P 500, he would have like 5 times more wealth. So it's not that he's necessarily good at economics or policy or anything in particular other than distraction politics and basically being a professional celebrity. Okay, you know what? Since he said it, I didn't say it, he said it, I'm going to bring this up. So this is the type of okay, yeah. This is the type of see, I would like if this had like a better I'm not trying to get this random all right, whatever. Well, anyway, I know this quote was from a while ago, so I'm not gonna act like this is new. This might have been early 2000s. But basically, he's saying, you know, it doesn't really matter what the media write as long as you've got a young and beautiful piece of booty. Basically, he's a professional at distraction politics. This has been his whole shtick since he was in New York. What he does is he distracts the media. If you look through the media of New York, it's constantly talking about how Trump is doing this, Trump is doing that, even though he's not like an economic powerhouse, even though he's not really that important in the policy or economy of New York. He's always in the media because he always knows how to stir up drama. And so this has been his whole political campaign. That's why the presidency shouldn't be a popularity contest, but it is anyway. And that's how we got to where we are today. And that is how, with the Epstein files, everybody knows that he's probably in the files, but he keeps on doing distraction politics and people keep on falling for it. It's so hilarious how people keep on calling him dumb and stupid and all these other things. And then immediately after, they get distracted by him jingling the keys or whatever. And nobody is actually calling him out, okay? It's just pathetic behavior, okay? He doesn't belong in the White House. We don't need to put him on a chopping block. We just do away with him like any other sexual criminal, okay? We just put them in jail. It's just that simple. It's not like we don't need some crazy civil war to happen. We don't need to go to war against ICE agents. He just needs to be put in jail. Ideally, the most likely reasonable path that ends in the least amount of human suffering and death and the least amount of civil war is we impeach Donald Trump. Then hopefully J.D. Vance comes in. He doesn't listen to anybody, which is probably what's going to happen. What's probably going to happen is Trump gets impeached. Boom, J.D. Vance comes in. Maybe we impeach J.D. Vance. Okay, boom. Maybe after that we get a Democrat. Now the Democrats aren't going to do anything either. They don't care about you. We impeach the Democrat. And then we just keep on impeaching presidents until we finally get somebody who cares about the American people. It's just that simple. That is the line that I see. That is what I want to see happen. Will that happen? Probably not. But that's probably the best way. It would be nice if Trump ended up in jail. But he's been declared immune by the Supreme Court. A decision which maybe they regret. Maybe they're also on the list. Who really knows at this point? I mean, you might as well gut the whole fish. Just take out all the corruption. Look, it's a monumental task, but there is hope. The tides are changing. Like I said, even Fox News is going against Donald Trump. And nobody is really accepting his lies at face value anymore. Nobody is really looking into what he's doing and saying, oh, good job, Mr. President. They're actually looking. They're actually examining. What are his goals? Is he just a dog chasing cars? Is he literally just like the Joker? Like, Who is this man child? He's just breaking things. And I think that's what people are finally starting to understand, is that is Trump's entire policy, is break things and distract. And maybe now people will get onto it. It's so hilarious, though. You want to know the funniest part about this? Is that Democrats and people on the left, they keep on playing into it. They keep on getting angry and saying, oh, Trump is so terrible, Trump is... But that's what fuels him. That's exactly how Trump got elected, is because Republicans wanted to see Democrats angry. There was just a section of them that were sadistic, and Trump made them angry, and that made Republicans happy, and then boom, he got elected. But the funny thing is, Republicans actually understand this. Leftists do not understand this. Republicans do. And so whenever they criticize Trump, you will notice that they don't say, oh, I hate Trump. Oh, he's so annoying. They say, oh, he's like,
we've gone too much to a participation trophy.
Oh, he's like a little child. He's getting this little participation award. Credit fights, they always seem kind of petty, you know? That's what really knocks him down. And that is when Trump was at his greatest, actually his lowest approval ratings in the polls. When he was going up against Kamala, it wasn't when everybody was rallied together. They were like, we hate Trump, we hate Trump. It was when everybody was like, who is this old man trying to be president again? That's when he lost all of his power. My grandparents like Trump, and they're not that invested in the Trump narrative. So I don't think that your analysis that everyone thinks badly of Trump is accurate. I don't know what to think myself. See, that's true. I don't think that everyone thinks badly of Trump. I just think that the tides are changing. Especially when like Fox News changes. I mean, you might want to ask them again, but especially when Fox News changes, it kind of does change things. My grandparents are also grandparents in the South. That's just how it is. Actually, I would like to call them and update you guys on this next week. We'll see how they're doing. But it seems like every time I talk about Trump, they get a little bit less approval for him. They get a little bit like they want to distance themselves more and more from him. Like at the beginning of his term, they were like, oh yeah, nobody respects Trump. He's a businessman. He's this, he's that. And then I would try to explain how he's not that good of a businessman. And also, like, he's got no merit. I mean, he does casinos. This is not like he was selling fire extinguishers to help people put out fires, or he was doing casinos. The house always wins. It's not even a difficult business. Look, anyway, the point is, no, I don't think that everybody thinks badly of Trump, but the approval rating is definitely zoop. We can see that right now. And really the most important thing is Fox News, because something like CNN, they're always going to be kind of like, oh, he's whatever, he's this, he's that. Or what's a better example? I don't know, Hassan Piker. Like, Hassan Piker is always going to disagree with Trump. But once Fox News starts changing, that's when you get some real change, because old people are the only ones in America who actually vote. And old people watch Fox News. My grandparents follow the news, and they've been talking a lot about the peace deals he's been signing. And from my uninformed perspective, that does seem pretty significant. Yeah, he may have helped out with the Israel-Palestine conflict. The problem is, if you start a war with Venezuela, and then you also do a peace deal with Israel-Palestine, where they're still fighting, by the way, and then you also threaten to invade Greenland. Look, people are just understanding that, like, you can't just steal a Nobel Peace Prize. Like, I think that most people understand that. And old people are very slow to change. It will be very difficult to get them to change. But there is hope. That is the point. Okay? It's not that your grandparents are going to change the entire political system. Usually, you just need this much. You just need the needle to move this much, and then everybody's on board, because you just have the majority in a democracy. And usually that's done by a popularity contest. But since he's losing the popularity contest, it's not going well. Now, I don't want to go into like war strategy, but it would be absolutely horrendous for all of America to get into a civil war. Again, I don't want to go into war strategy too much. It is possible that the left wins. People on the right are like, oh, the left are babies. They're snowflakes. They're not going to win. That's not how war works in 2026. It's not like, you know, oh, this person isn't strong enough. They don't weightlift enough. It's like, who has more bombs? You know, who has more napalm? Who has better GPS systems? They're not even called battlefields anymore, by the way. They're called battle spaces, because what you're looking is spatial distances, and you're looking at the space of where a war happens, especially at its most advanced. So if there was to be a large-scale legitimate civil war and the country was actually divided, first of all, it wouldn't even make any sense because the military doesn't just divide. But second of all, depending on where certain resources went, it would be, look, basically it would be terrible. Just to give you guys a little bit of background for anybody who's not familiar with who I am, my whole thing is international relations and international policy, and I actually mainly got into that through Civil War. And my main thing in international policy is I actually would like to be a diplomat. Now the problem is, if I start going to other countries and I'm like, oh, here's how you don't go into a civil war, but then America is in a civil war, that's not really a good look for me, right? If I can't stop a civil war in my own country, then why should I even bother helping other countries, right? It's like an airplane, you know, you want to put your own mask on first. And so since America is heating up towards a civil war, I realized that maybe it wouldn't be a good idea to go study abroad and leave my country behind at its most vulnerable. So anyway, civil war, in my opinion, is probably one of the worst things that can ever happen to a country. You might think that losing free speech is the worst thing, and that's kind of the first place, maybe second place, but really the worst thing is kind of civil war. It destroys infrastructure, women and children. There will be all kinds of war crimes against women and also young girls and also young boys. Actually, it's insane. Look, it's actually insane. Your family will be forever changed if a civil war happens. Americans obviously have not experienced a civil war in recent times, but it is nothing like, you know, your cousin being dropped in Afghanistan. You are on the battlefield. Your family is on the battlefield. Civil war is, it's not even worth it. It would not be worth it. And so that is why they're trying to escalate to a civil war. That is why the elitists and the oligarchs would prefer a civil war. That's why Trump would prefer a civil war, is because it's basically a coin flip at that point. Right now, it's not a coin flip. Right now, there's enough people that are disapproving that there's actually a good chance that he gets booted out somehow. Maybe he's the first ever president that gets impeached. But if there's a civil war, then he just has to win a civil war, which is basically a coin flip. It's almost a toss-up. Again, I don't want to go into war strategy, but war is never worth it. I would say almost never. And that is the problem with the American mindset, is you might think that this could be similar to the first American Civil War, but it wouldn't be at all. It would just be pretty horrendous. It wouldn't go over the same. And also, it's not like, look, the first American Civil War was kind of cool because, you know, at least one side was fighting and then ended up ending slavery, and the other side was just seceding and kind of a traitor to the country. But now what is this Civil War going to be about? Trump shouldn't get a Nobel Peace Prize. Trump shouldn't be infringing on human rights. It's not as bad as slavery, okay? I'm going to be straight up with you. The ICE raids are pretty terrible. They're pretty horrendous. Slavery is worse, okay? Slavery is kind of worse. And so you're not really galvanized around the same sense of liberty in this civil. Look, there's multiple reasons why a civil war would just be an absolutely horrendous idea. And a political revolution would be much better. A peaceful revolution. Peaceful. Okay? We impeach Trump or lock him up. We impeach J.D. Vance. We impeach Democrats. Maybe we get an independent who's not bought and sold by corporations. Boom, we're good. Lena Khan would be great. Gavin Newsom. This is basically what I want to say, okay? I don't want this to become like a clip and then it gets like reused later on. But if we do go to civil war, like who is going to be, you know, the guy of the left? Is it going to be Gavin Newsom? Like Gavin Newsom is going to be leading the charge? Like who is it just there's no one focused figure on the left right now. That is the major problem. And I don't know why Obama fell off the face of the earth. Look, Obama, I know you can't be president anymore. I know it's not like constitutionally allowed, but like we got to get you back in there. You're the only guy who can bring the left together at this point, and Democrats. Okay, cool. The vast majority of wars are about some bullcrap like territory, resources, old feuds, religious extremism, and or money. See, that's my problem. Is it feels like the ICE raids would potentially be the most important thing to go to civil war about. But do you really think that the left is going to be like, oh yeah, it's the ICE raids, you know, we don't like them. And also like Jimmy Kimmel, they were hurting his free speech. Like it's not the same galvanizing force. Okay. Now, of course, being against billionaire pedophiles, that is a galvanized force, but it's also not the same like fundamental value that being against slavery is. Because slavery is like widespread and everybody's involved. It's just there's no need for a civil war here. If every single person on the right, if every single Republican was a billionaire pedophile, there's like 150 million of them, then maybe we would need a civil war. But they're not. It's not like they're all billionaire pedophiles. There's just like a bunch in politics. Are the ICE raids that bad? I mean, they're making them worse. That's the point. Is it's like it is just authoritarian, you know? It's like it's not Nazi secret police stuff. It's also not like it's not like the Gestapo. It's not like the KGB. It's not like communist secret police yet. It's sort of its own thing. And it hasn't escalated yet, but it seems like they're just trying to escalate it more and more. It seems like they're just trying to poke the bear. And what we need to do while we still have free speech is send letters to politicians that represent us to let them know that civil war is bad. Or actually just call them. That's much easier. You just give them a little call. It's quite nice. Venezuela. So we invaded Venezuela. This is more of a complicated topic. Because Venezuela, there were, as I heard, there were many people who were very happy about the invasion of Venezuela. And if Venezuela is in a dictatorship, which it was, and then you invade it, and then you have a democracy, there's an argument to be made that it's better. The funny thing is that's not why they're doing it. I also don't really think that it's for oil. They say it's for oil. But basically, Venezuela was invaded. We kidnapped the world leader. All in all, this is just bad because it's illegal based in the Constitution. The president cannot invade foreign territories and steal their presidents without approval from Congress. So first of all, it's illegal from the American standpoint. Second of all, it's kind of illegal from an international law standpoint. Now, the question is, would the United Nations step in and stop this? No, of course not. The United Nations would maybe send a strongly worded letter. Even then, they wouldn't do that because the United Nations is based in the U.S. And the U.S. is kind of deeply involved in the United Nations. So if the United Nations didn't like it, they could go eat somebody's pants. I don't know. They can't do anything. So it's not good from an international law perspective, though. Like, maybe if the whole world got together and they said, you know what? The Venezuela situation is not good. We should just switch up what is going on in Venezuela. Now that would be something I could get behind. Okay, the whole world coming together. There's a human rights problem in Venezuela. Fair enough. We depose the leader. We all get together. We find a better leader. Now that I can get behind. That sounds like a pretty fair deal. But Donald Trump just going in and saying, we're going to kidnap this guy and also steal the Nobel Peace Prize. It seems a little personal, you know? This guy keeps on talking about how he wants the Nobel Peace Prize, and then he kind of takes it. That's kind of weird. So now you might think that I'm saying that this was all about the Peace Prize. Maybe it was, because he did end up getting the Peace Prize. Which, you know what? Fair and square. You invade a country to get the Peace Prize. Sure, that's exactly how God intended, I guess. The funny thing is, it's not even a participation trophy. That's the funniest part. They're saying that it's a participation trophy, but yeah, it would be like if I like walked up to some child's soccer game and I just took the trophy. I didn't even participate. I just took it. Okay, anyway. I guess you could say he participated because he participated in the Israel-Palestine whatever, but there's really no reason to believe that he had any extra leverage on the ceasefire. Oh, by the way, important to Trump just declared himself as the Nobel Peace Prize winner. So for some reason, whenever I'm streaming, I forget everybody's name. It's not Machado, is it? No, Machado was the old leader. We'll put myself over here. Oh, we'll put myself here. That's a good spot. Venezuela, new PM. Delcy. This is not correct. Delcy Rodriguez is not the person I'm looking for. Machado was, yes. No, it is Machado. All right, cool. Anyway, I slightly blanked. Maduro? Right, okay, Maduro was the one that was kidnapped. Yes. Do they have the helmet picture? Not the helmet picture, the headphones picture. That's a fascinating picture. This would probably be in history books in the future. This could definitely end up in a history book. Anyway. So, yes, Machado was the one who was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize in 2025. And then she was... Okay, so just to give some background. All right, here's what happened. I'm just going to tell you the entire story. So, basically, Venezuela's been having some problems. There's a humanitarian crisis. Some people are starving. I think Maduro might have been poisoning food, but Maduro was in power, and he was doing a terrible job, and people were going hungry. And then Machado wanted to oppose him democratically. Okay, great. She won democratically. Okay, great. He stays as president. Well, that's very curious. She won democratically, but now he's still the president. What happened there? Well, that's not real democracy. He just took back the presidency. Okay, so that's something of a problem. And it's especially a problem if he keeps on causing a humanitarian crisis. Well, the funny thing is, Machado was the one who ended up getting the Nobel Peace Prize, essentially because she was kind of doing a good job at not escalating that much, is the argument. And she was just trying to go the democratic route and win, not stirring up a crazy amount of trouble, not trying to start a military coup or something. So then she gets the Nobel Peace Prize, kind of in recognition for her triumphs in Venezuela. Okay, great. Well, Donald Trump is annoyed about this because obviously he wants the Peace Prize. He was never going to get it. But he wanted it. So then there's an argument to be made that he kind of invaded because he wanted the Peace Prize. Also, it was hilarious because he said, oh, we're going to take out Maduro. He's a terrible leader. Well, then he just put in Maduro's vice president. He just put in his right-hand man. So it was the same administration. He said, hey, this administration in Venezuela is terrible. I'm going to get rid of it, and I'm going to put in the same administration. Well, you're not doing anything there. You're just invading a country. You're just kidnapping a random guy. You haven't actually done any change. So then, bro, why does, like, my throat just gets immediately dry as soon as I start stream now? I have to go back to streaming 2 hours a day, every single day, do it every single day. I'm not going to do that. But I don't remember this happening when I was streaming 2 hours a day. So anyway, he takes our glorious leader Maduro. He's out of there. Then Machado comes in. She pulls up to the function. And she's like, hey, Trump, I could give you a sweet deal here. I would like to be president of my country since I was democratically elected. And Trump is like, okay, that sounds like a great deal as long as you give me the Nobel Peace Prize. Now, I actually think that she probably just gave it to him, or maybe he suggested it. I'm not sure who's suggesting her giving away the Nobel Peace Prize. But she hands him the Nobel Peace Prize. And where's the picture? As you saw earlier, this is the picture that went on social media. This is the picture that was being hated on by Donald Trump. My face is in the way. This is it. And so that's why Fox News is saying that this was a participation trophy, is because he just went in, messed with some politics, decided, oh, hey, you know what? Machado will be president because she gave him a Nobel Peace Prize. It seems like that was the main reason. It didn't seem like she did a lot of good convincing on how this would be great for America. It was probably just the Nobel Peace Prize because he really wanted it. That's crazy. It is crazy. Okay, anyway, so back to Venezuela. Back to why this was done. Now, you might think that this was done because he wanted the Peace Prize. I think that is possible because when Trump sets his mind on something, he will try to get it by any means necessary, like with Greenland. We might get into that in a second. He will get that thing by any means necessary. So maybe he invaded Venezuela for the Nobel Peace Prize, but I don't think that's true. I think that might be part of the truth, but I think that there was also external pressure on him, maybe for oil. But oil is just a nice little side benefit, right? If I'm the president of a country and I want to say, oh, let's reduce gas prices by 20 cents, my first instinct is not going to be to invade another country with oil. Maybe if I'm American, it is. But here's the problem that people overlook. They always go to thinking that, oh, we get a bunch of oil. That's why America does things. But that's kind of the surface level reason. In fact, that might be the reason that the military gives to the president when they propose wars. So here's something important to note. The president and the military are very close, okay? They're both part of the same government. So obviously the top level military leaders and the president are going to be close. Also, Pete Hegseth is our dear glorious rump leader aficionado of the U.S. military, the Secretary of War. So anyway, they're kind of close. They're in talks. My point is, why would the military suggest oil as a good reason? Well, first of all, if you're a president, you want to lower the gas prices. It looks good for you. It looks like inflation is not really happening if you lower gas prices. But here's the thing. The curious thing is, America, why do we need this oil if we are the leading country in oil in the world? Like, everybody's acting like America's always desperate for oil. We never have enough oil. Trump is saying we need more oil. The funny thing is we have the most oil. We don't need more. At this point, I'm pretty sure we're exporting. We've got extra oil. Look how ridiculous this is. We've got twice as much as Saudi Arabia. Now, maybe that's because of a lot of wars in the Middle East, because we took some war, or sorry, we didn't take some war. We took some oil. But the main thing is, we're just straight up producing in-country oil. We don't really need that much more. Now, Venezuela has the largest oil reserves, the largest proven oil reserves. But again, we don't really need it. So if there is money involved, and there always is in politics, if there is money involved, is it really coming from the oil? Maybe oil is nice because it helps your approval rating, because again, it helps people think that inflation is not happening if gas prices are always low. So you increase the supply of oil by invading countries. Boom, gas prices stay low. Boom, you get to say that you're the greatest president of all amazing time, whatever. The problem is that's not a good enough reason. That sounds like a reason that the military would give to try to convince a president to go to war. Now, why would the military try to convince a president to go to war? Because then the military gets to do its job. And here's what is very important. If we look at the federal budget of the United States, 12% of it goes to the military. Last time I checked, let's see. And I do be coughing. I hope that wasn't too loud, but it probably was. Where are we? Defense/Homeland Security. That looks like that might be including police forces. I don't want to include police forces. Federal budget, war. Not war. Defense. They call it defense. Maybe they call it war now. I don't know, because now it's the Department of War. 15%. This is the American defense budget. This is 2017. I don't like this as much. This says 39%. What does this even talk? Global military. No. And we're looking, and this is 2015. Okay, whatever. We'll go with the 2017 numbers. Where was it? Thank you. Okay, so the defense budget is 15% of the federal budget. Now, that's quite curious. That means that 15% of taxes are going to war, and they're going to the military. Why is this important? Well, if you look at your paycheck, 15% of it does not go to gas. In fact, it's not nearly that much. Maybe a good amount of it goes to gas. Maybe if you're broke like me, it's like probably... Anyway, but it could be a good amount. Maybe 10%. So maybe if you get a crazy deal on oil, then maybe the country does much better. But really, you need to justify this defense spending. If you're not at war with anybody and you're spending 15% of your budget on the military, then what are you doing? What is even the point? So, at the same time, all of the military contractors and the companies involved, they want better deals. They want more money. They always want the defense budget to increase. So they never wanted to decrease, and they always wanted to increase. Well, the best way for them to get what they want is through war. Also, it's funny because the defense industry is almost similar to a welfare industry, but kind of backwards. Because what they do is they take money from taxes, and then they employ large swaths of young men and women that are generally more poor because they have nowhere else to go. And so then they get to just pay them to do useless tasks, like go to foreign military bases overseas and do military drills. or they pay them to not go into active war zones but to push papers, or they pay them to produce technology that's not actually being produced or not actually going anywhere or not actually useful, or make bombs that are never going to be dropped on people, or make bombs that are going to be dropped on children if you are going to war. But that's the thing. If you're going to make bombs, they better be being dropped on somebody. So you have to have a reason. Now, what's also important here is that we're talking about maybe 30 to 20% of everybody's income is going to taxes. Not the billionaires, because they don't pay as much taxes. But a large swath of income is going to this. So you might think like, oh, this is only the government budget. Well, obviously, the government budget is a large portion of your budget. So it's not 15% of your income going to defense, but it's a very large amount. Why is all of this important? My basic thesis is, I'm beating around the bush here. If we look at the military budget, the rump has called for a U.S. military spending to rise more than 50% to $1 trillion. So it has now gone from, 1.5 trillion. It has now gone from about 900 billion-ish to 1.5 trillion. So first of all, kind of funny because we were supposed to reduce waste and bloat in the government, and now he's increasing the military budget by 500 billion. But then when you think about it, you think that, you know what, maybe this was kind of all part of the plan. If you invade another country, then you get to have a good reason to increase the military budget. If you threaten to invade Greenland, then you get to have a good reason to raise the military budget. So everybody involved has a good reason to raise it. Boom. You say that it's oil. It's not oil at all. It's just to take this 15% defense number to 22%, and then they could pay out all of this waste, fraud, and inefficiency. They can pay it out to these defense contractors who take 90% of it off the top and then do nothing with the rest of the 10%. Maybe pay off a few employees that are young men, or send them to Iraq to lose their limbs and then get nothing from veterans assistance afterwards. Basically, it's not that I'm anti-veteran, okay? I am pro-veteran. I am for veterans, which is why I'm against war. Okay? You know, just to be clear, the most anti-war people are people who have been to war. So if you're, sitting on your couch thinking, oh, this guy just hates soldiers, this guy just... Bro, no. My stepdad is a veteran, okay? Like, I be knowing veterans. I've got a long line of veterans in my family. None of them like war. None of them are like, oh yeah, war. That's what really has good results. Everything good comes from war. So that's my thesis. The funny thing is, I believed this before. When everybody was saying that Trump wanted to go to war for oil, and he was saying that he wanted to go to war for oil, I think that there was ulterior motives. Maybe he believed that he wanted to go to war for oil. I did not believe it. I'm sad that I didn't call it out earlier. Actually, I'm not really that sad. It's fine. I'll get to make future predictions. What's a future prediction I have? I don't know. I don't have anything playing in the background, do I? That would be... This is not playing in the background. Okay, cool. We're good. That'd be kind of crazy. Anyway, so let's check some things off the to-do list. Look, that's my point, is that there's a lot going on. It seems like distraction. We were threatening to invade Greenland, but then as it turns out, we're not invading Greenland. And, at first Trump was saying, oh, we'll get better deals. Oh, we'll get better military points. We'll get a better strategic military points if we invade Greenland and we have it. Oh, we'll get this, we'll get that. And then Greenland conceded basically all of this. They made it so that the trade would be better. We already have military bases on Greenland, and we already have NATO, so why in the world we would be worried about military strategic points in Greenland when we have NATO up there makes no sense. Especially when you think about the fact that if we do invade Greenland, then we no longer have NATO. So from a military standpoint, it makes no sense. From a trade standpoint, it makes no sense because we're getting a better trade deals now anyway. And then afterwards, Trump decides, oh no, I still want to go invade Greenland. Now they called it off. But my point in saying that is it seems like Trump just wants to expand the territory. Because usually a good way to increase your approval rating is just by expanding your territory. The thing is, Americans don't really care about that anymore. We don't really want more land. Maybe in like the 1700s people wanted more land. I think that Americans just want a better economy. Is there anyone among the American public who hears, I want to go for oil and feels good about it? That feels like a very strange cover-up for an ulterior motive. Yes. Nobody was really defending the oil reason. Nobody was really out there saying, oh yeah, going to war for oil is a great reason. But there were a lot of people who did believe that he was going to war for oil. And I wanted to clear up that I don't really think that's the case. I think that you can get a lot more bribes going, and I think that you can get a lot more corruption going if you go to war just to increase the military budget. Because then you just force the general population to pay you. Then you pay out the military contractors. It's a fantastic scheme, and we've been doing it. It's a tale as old as time. And Eisenhower warned us about this in, what was that, the 70s? I don't know. And he was a veteran. He was part of the military. And he said, the military-industrial complex is terrible, and it could ruin America. And what did we do about it? Absolutely nothing. We keep on invading random countries. Great. Glad we got that out of the way. I just want to make it very clear that people think that the United States goes to war for oil, and I don't think that's true. I think that the main reason is defense contractors like Lockheed Martin, Raytheon. I think that they own the pockets of the politicians, and they're constantly feeding them money. And so they say, oh, also gas prices will go down. Oh, also we spread democracy. Oh, also we do this. But really they just want bigger contracts. Basically, they just want your tax dollars. They just want your paycheck to go directly to them. It's the most amazing plan of all time. And then they set up all these barriers. They say, oh, it's democracy. Oh, he's a dictator. Oh, this. Oh, oil that. Okay, great. I'm beating a dead bush here. That's not the saying. Already went over Epstein. That's good. Already went over Renee. Good. That's good. So back to Greenland. It is my impression that now we're no longer invading Greenland, but it is my impression that he kind of just wanted more land. He wanted to say, look at how much land I increased the U.S. by. Because at this point, Trump has realized that the ship is sinking. He's realized that nobody actually believes that he's a good president. And so he's like, well, wait a second. What if I just believe that I'm a good president? The best way to do that is if I just measurably increase America's territory. Then I don't have to listen to the general population. Maybe the general population will like that. Maybe he actually considers what the American people think. I think it's probably low on his list. But maybe he does consider that. Well, the thing is, I think that if he just wanted to convince himself that he was a good president and he was a good conquester, then he gets the Peace Prize and he expands territory. Because that's just an amazing thing. It's like, oh, I'm super peaceful and I got America more territory. So in his mind, as he's brain rotting and eating yogurt in a nursing home, he can say, oh, I did great for American society. That's what I believe. It's kind of impossible to predict the mind of the rump, our dear glorious leader, because he's also losing his mind. But anyway, that's my thoughts. And in fact, if we look at this. Okay, so I have a hunch. One second. Trump really likes Andrew Jackson. Now, I don't know if Andrew Jackson actually expanded Yeah, wait. Let's see images. Did Andrew Jackson get the Louisiana Purchase? Who got the Louisiana Purchase? Who got the Louisiana Purchase? Thomas Jefferson. Never mind. This was not Andrew Jackson. Well, what in the world? Okay, well, so Andrew Jackson helped aggressively expand into the Louisiana Purchase, but he did not himself increase the borders of America. Anyway, the point is, let's see let me see you look at, you guys can look at this now. I was just looking up random things. Okay, let's look at Greenland square miles. 800,000 square miles. Which president increased American territory by the most? Polk, apparently. Annexing Texas. Okay, cool. So Polk increased it the most. How much land did Polk get? Let's see. I want to see. 500,000. Wait. 500,000 square miles? I want to know if Trump just looked up. Okay. Over 1 million square miles of land. So Trump wouldn't be that far behind. I think that it might be as simple as that. You know, a lot of people think that the mind of Trump is simple, and it is, but it's not as simple as like, you know, oh, I just want America to be bigger. It's something like, he'll see something like this, right? And he'll think, over 1 million square miles of land, over 1 million square miles. That's amazing. That's fascinating. And then he himself will want to top this number. You know, he wants to do it out of spite. Maybe he wants to do it for his own sake. But yeah. And then he'll say, I had the greatest territorial expansion in American history. The greatest. That's how he's going to talk to himself. The biggest room. And I said, wow, what a big room. I don't even do a Trump impression. I just do an impression of Shane Gillis doing a Trump impression. That's the best way to do it. Stole that joke from my friend, by the way. Gage almost doxed him. Shout out to my guy. I don't know if he wanted to be doxed on stream. I don't really think he cares. But yeah, I think maybe Trump looked at a picture like this and he thought, wow, Greenland is a big place. It only has 60,000 people. We'll just take it. Great, fantastic. I'm glad we went over that. Oh, also the distraction from the Epstein files, because he knows that he was diddling little kids. And so he wants the American people to not remember that. All right, great. So I'm glad that we went through an hour of distraction politics, okay? Basically, your only takeaway should be that Donald Trump is diddling kids from that entire hour, if you were interested. We know that already. Yes. Fantastic. I am interested in the international policy of it all, though, personally, you know? Like, what's the deal with Greenland? What's the deal with Venezuela? What's the deal with Renee Good? But, you know, at the end of the day, it leaves you empty if you don't do anything with that. So you got to call your congressman, you got to call your local statesman, and you got to get them to know that we're not a big fan of the rump, our dear glorious leader. What's happening to my collar here? Okay, cool. I'm just showing off. I'm spoiling the surprise of Ray Wednesday. Oh, you know what, actually? So since we're pretty much done talking about the rump and what's happening in America and the American administration, I did also want to say the Democrats will not save you. I want to make that very clear that, oh, I said we already know that to Gage Wu. We know you stole the joke. What's the reasoning behind Trump diddling kids? The reason behind Trump diddling kids is that he used to own, you know what, let's just go through it. Let's just look at the evidence. First of all, the evidence is that he keeps on paying out people who accuse him of sexual assault, which is very curious. He never seems to be doing that based on what you ask him. You know, they just happen to be getting paid out. Who knows who's paying them out? Also, their families keep getting threatened. I mean, it's very curious that that's happening. But this is the best evidence. Howard Stern, Trump dressing room.
Stern now making headlines. Trump talking about how he had free reign at his beauty pageants.
I'll go backstage before a show. Yes. And everyone's getting dressed and ready. And I'm allowed to go in because I'm the owner of the pageant, and therefore I'm inspecting it. Is everyone okay? You know, they're standing there with no clothes. Is everybody okay? And you see these incredible looking women.
Standing there with no clothes.
And so I sort of get away with things like that.
Today,
I sort of get away with things like that. It's important to keep in mind that he had beauty pageants for underage girls. And so this is what he's saying publicly, by the way, on the Howard Stern show. This is what he's saying when he knows he's being recorded on a podcast. He's saying this very openly. He's also called his daughter attractive. It might include that in this video. The other evidence is literally Epstein file 1332-16. That one is just literally him being involved in the sex trafficking industry. Of course, nobody really cares because it's just some victim. It's just another victim, you know, who's going to listen to, like how many victims do you have to have come out before it's like, hey, maybe this guy does diddle kids? I don't know. Apparently it has to be a lot. And he has to say that he likes sexually harassing children. And he has to say that his daughter is attractive.
a former Miss Arizona who calls herself a conservative, going public in an interview with KCBS, described.
Oh wait, she calls herself a conservative. She must have Trump derangement syndrome. Guys, she's been... No, I'm not even going to go through it. Anyway.
What she says happened backstage with Trump at a Miss USA pageant.
Our first introduction to him was when we were at the dress rehearsal and half naked changing into our bikinis.
Tasha Dixon detailing her discomfort.
To have the owner come waltzing in when we're naked or half naked in a very physically vulnerable position, and then to have the pressure of the the people that work for him telling us to go fawn all over him, go walk up to him, talk to him, get his attention.
She describes feeling helpless.
Who do you complain to? He owns the pageant. So there's no one to complain to. Everyone there works.
Wow, look at that laugh. Look at that sad laugh. Like there's just like this dead look in her eyes. Like this is what we've come to. We're still just some tribal monkey people, and you know, these wonderful beauty pageants with these wonderful columns and all of this majestic technology, and oh, it's the 21st century, you know, there's all this technology, and we're still some ape brain minded individuals who can't control our own. You got to be strong, okay? You got to be stronger than the animalistic desires within you. That's what separates man from animal. It's not the technology, it's not the cell phones. It's just understanding that there are things that will be very loud in your head, and you have to be stronger than that. All right, so moving on from the fact that Trump is a creep, we already understand this. So... But that's the thing, like something will be loud in Trump's head. Like he'll loudly believe like, you know, I want to go to Greenland, and he won't like suppress this thought. Like he has no way of suppressing this. Most likely because he was a rich kid and he grew up the son of a billionaire. And so he had no reason to suppress thoughts like that. But who really knows? Who really cares what the mind of Trump is? Like just let him rot in a nursing home or prison. Why don't we just save the country instead of focusing on this guy? I'm pretty much done talking about him. I liked going over all of his crazy stuff. He's fascinating, but like, I don't know, just okay, cool. Enough distraction politics. He diddles kids, or at the very least, he harasses them. What's the next thing? I'm reading the next thing. I could read it. I'm still thinking about how. Anyway, whatever. Okay. Like everybody could know about this. This is the part that annoys me, is that everybody could just do like the most basic amount of research and realize that he is a complete creep, but they don't really care. You know, they think like as long as the economy is doing good, then it's okay if there is a pedophile as president. They like, or at least if he's not a pedophile, then he takes advantage of women. And he says that he does. Like, at the very least, you know? And people are like, as long as the economy is good, we don't care. That's not how you get a good economy. Like, we're not... You have to have somebody with strong moral fiber. You have to have somebody with an iron will, not somebody who... All right, moving on. Like, I'm not even ranting about Trump at this point. Like, I could care less about Trump. It's like every single Democrat, every single Republican. J.D. Vance says that Trump is heroin in the in Americans' veins. Let's look at this wonderful J.D. Vance quote. J.D. Vance, Trump, heroin. I want to see the actual quote because it's a beautiful quote. It's actually so amazing. Basically just calls him a reality TV star. Come on. They cut down the quote. It's even worse when you cut it down. It's so beautiful when you have the whole thing. Like, I can't, like, the media is like, there's it's back to back, wall to wall corruption. And this is why we need a revolution. Bro, whatever. He calls Trump heroin. He's like, one day America is going to realize that Trump is heroin. It looks like J.D. Vance is taking drugs. Anyway. I don't think that's true. I think everyone is stuck in an echo chamber because of the incredible media bias. Yeah, that's part of it. That's funny. We're both complaining about the media separately. Republicans watch Republican news and only hear the news that Republicans want them to hear, and vice versa. That's also true. Yeah, I find it very difficult to find what the other side believes on something. Like, I was specifically trying to find what Fox News thinks about Renee Good because I was interested in it and I want to talk about, you know, what are the different sides of it. I realize that I don't really want to talk about the different sides of the Renee Good shooting. If you just look into the DOJ laws, it's very clear that Renee Good was not in the wrong. You don't have to go into all of the random arguments. But anyway, it was difficult for me to find arguments from the other side. And I believe it's because I have been noted down in their algorithm as somebody on the left. Whatever that means. And so then I just can't get any sort of news, any sort of feedback from the other side. Like, it's genuinely difficult. I sometimes do, but it's still like filtered. Also, the YouTube algorithm is bad. Since we're complaining about the fall of society and algorithms and everything, let's look at some AI. That'll be fun. So this is something that I wanted to complain about. This is something that Google is proud of, by the way. They made this an ad, 118 million views. Yeah, I think it's time to talk about this. Okay, so right before we talk about that, I want to say that Democrats have completely failed America just as badly. That we went into a 34-day government shutdown, and what did Democrats get out of it? Nothing. They almost negotiated, and then they literally had the negotiation on the table, and then it's like the Democrats just tore it up and said, no, we don't actually want to fight for the American people, because if we do what's right, then Republicans will take responsibility for it. And then, all of a sudden, people will just say that the status quo is good. They'll side with Republicans. So Democrats do the same exact things that Republicans do. Democrats will sabotage themselves just to get a little bit of votes. Just that little bit of votes. It's ridiculous. They don't care. None of them care. Maybe independents. There's a growing wave of independents going into politics now. But there is hope. There is hope. This growing thing of independence, this is good for society. This could be good for America. I don't want you to think that things are just getting bad. I don't think that things get bad over time. I think that things get better. And then sometimes, like, World War I happens and it's like, oh, that's not good. It's like, it's like, oh, that's not good. But then after World War I, it's like, it's kind of okay. And then World War II happens. It's like, oh, that's really bad. But then after World War II, it's like, oh my gosh, there's like almost world peace. The top 50 richest countries have not gone to war for 50 plus years. Like, there's very good things like that. There's also a bunch of exploitation, but things are being lifted out of poverty. I think that overall the world does much better, but it requires good people to do the right thing. Also requires good people to force bad people to do the right. Well, no, don't force them. We're getting too much into philosophy and not politics. Now is not the time for philosophy. That's later. Now is the time for watching AI ads. So I'm going to complain about algorithms now. The amount of lies on every side of the aisle makes one feel compelled to just commit to a particular perspective so that one does not have to live in a state of confusion. Yes. I would say independents. Right now it seems like independents are doing pretty good. I don't really believe that Zohran Mamdani is the savior. I think he's just something different. He is doing good though so far, actually. I do approve of what he's doing so far. I thought he would do more like socialist things. But anyway, this is where technology has gotten us. Technology has stagnated because there's not as much competition, and not technology itself. Like, AI is getting better, definitely. We know this. But technology for consumers is not really getting better. Like, there's not a lot of competition to make your life better. Maybe you just happen to be better at doing homework now because you can force ChatGPT to do it. But it's not necessarily like OpenAI is saying, oh, we want to make the life of the student better. We want to provide tutors for students. We want to increase education in America. It's almost like by accident that all of these things are happening. And they're also making it worse anyway because students are not doing their homework. Okay, cool. Let's look at this.
So you left Mr. Fuzzy on the plane?
Well, I think we all left Mr. Fuzzy on the plane. Okay, hold on. I think I found it.
Of course.
Okay, wait a second. I think I got it. Hear me out. Maybe he isn't really lost.
What?
Maybe he's just sightseeing.
Look at him. Oh, yes.
Maybe he went to visit some family.
This is good. Okay, I got it. What if he took off on some adventures? Wait a second. Hold up. Too far. Yeah, maybe he just needed some alone time.
Little R&R.
Still, he's not getting here for a while. Oh, I've got an idea.
Hey, Emma. Took a little trip. Really missing you. See you in, 7 to 10 business days.
She's gonna love this.
Hey, Emma. Come check this out.
Oh, it's funny that her name is Emma. I didn't even realize that. Anyway, I saw this ad and I was immediately repulsed by it because this ad is just blatantly advertising lying to children, which I have a problem with. You might believe in the magic of Santa Claus, but this is just on a whole nother level. This isn't even cultural. This is just like, I forgot to get my child's stuffed animal, and so now what, the only use of AI that you can think of, the only good use is lying to your children? It's insane. I'm just so excited for AI to lie to our children about what they should do when they break a vase or something, or what they should do when it's horrendous. It's horrendous. We're teaching AI to lie to our children. This is what we're doing with AI. Amazing. One of the most fantastical things to ever grace this universe. One of the most intelligent, nearly super intelligent beings. And it's like, what are we going to do with it? We're going to lie about stuffed animals. This is the best we can come up with. And by the way, I really didn't like this ad and I wanted to show it on stream, but I waited until the time was right. The time is now right. But I did look at the comments, and the comments happen to agree with me. I will say that yeah, nice. Children don't need to imagine things anymore. Oh wait, children won't imagine things anymore. Google Gemini, lying couldn't be easier. I think 99% of people wouldn't have that thought at all. 99% of people wouldn't dislike this ad as much as I do. I agree. I think that most people would think it's somewhat harmless, or they would think it's funny. I like the voice acting. I mean, it's good. They have like a natural laugh, which is very difficult.
Hold up, too far. Yeah, maybe he just needed some alone time.
Little R&R.
Go on some adventures. Wait a second. Hold up, too far. Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, it seems like almost natural voice acting, which is difficult. Anyway, sorry, my point is not that the quality of the video is bad. My point is that it's almost like they're trying to like sneak in this idea that AI lying to us is a good thing. Like, of all the things that we could do with a super intelligent entity, having it lie to us is probably the worst option. And I also would eventually like to talk about how AI, as it gets more and more developed, is also lying more and more. But that's a topic for another day. What I really wanted to do is watch this video because I think it's funny and it's a palate cleanser. But I concur. Did I tell you about how discovering that Santa wasn't real as a kid just about caused an existential crisis for me? Yes, I have heard this multiple times because we also talked about it in Philosophy Club. But I think that's the case for a lot of children, is that their parents lied to them about Santa Claus, and the magic of the disappointment of Santa Claus not being real is much worse than any magic that you get from Santa Claus being real. There are much more amazing things in the world than some fat guy handing out presents. Also kind of hilarious that Santa Claus doesn't give presents to poor kids. Like, all those poor kids and their parents can't afford presents, and Santa Claus doesn't give them presents. That seems very fascinating. I've already told you that joke. Look, anyway.
Tea.
This is what it reminds me of.
I bet you thought I was drinking tea, but this glass is empty. You see that? There was no tea in there. And this isn't my hand. These are my hands. That's not real at all. You see, you're being lied to. You're being lied to. I bet you thought this was me, but no, this is just a reflection. This was all taking place on a mirror. It was all a mirror. It was all a lie. And I bet you thought I was wearing pants. I'm not wearing pants. And this isn't even my voice. I dubbed this over in post-production. And you're being lied to. This is all taking place on a screen, and you are being lied to. You're being lied to.
So anyway, that's how I feel like AI is treating us right now. It's just jingling the keys. Bro, I should have keys like around me, so that way I can jingle them whenever I want to make that joke. This is my profile picture on my other account. Look at how cool that is. I just felt like showing that off. I don't know why. I guess I just wanted to show off that it's real. Now I could finally throw away that poster board. That is a nightmare. Holy, yeah, this video is kind of amazing. I really like it, but it's gone now. We watched it on stream. Its purpose has been served. Okay. You know what? Since I'm talking about my life circumstances, I went to go get an oil change. I was going to talk about this on my first stream, but I was like, what? Nobody wants to hear about this random story of me going to Jiffy Lube. I went to Jiffy Lube, and I was like, hey, are there any problems with my truck? And they said, nah, there's no problems. After they looked at it. We topped off your oil, though. And I was like, okay, great. But how much is that going to cost? And they were like, it's not going to cost anything. And I was like, okay, wonderful. So then I got in my truck and I just drove off. And I was very suspicious of this. This feels like they like strapped a pipe bomb to my truck. That's immediately how I felt after I left. Because how are you going to have them check the truck? They're going to top off the oil, but they don't charge you. And then the funny thing is, about a week later, one of my spark plugs goes out, and then the coil is messed up, and so we have to replace all the spark plugs and everything. I did not go back to that Jiffy Lube to replace it, but yeah, that's like, it's so hilarious that in this society, in a corrupt world, it can become impossible to tell whether people have good intentions, whether people are doing the right thing or not. Like, was it just pure coincidence that I felt like my truck should get checked out, and then they check it out, they say that nothing is wrong, and then there was something wrong, and they don't charge me for it? Because, like, mechanics are, I am genuinely, I have, like, I'm probably, like, personally biased against mechanics. I'm probably prejudiced against mechanics, because I have known them to do some pretty crazy things, like try to actually steal cars. I know that sounds like I'm exaggerating, but they will genuinely steal a car, and then because they're mechanics, they have ways of like selling it off. Like, it was a whole scheme in the town that I live in. That's a whole nother story. Anyway, the point is, in a society where things are corrupt, in a society where there is low trust, everything sort of starts to break down. You know, all I want to do is find out if there's something wrong with my truck, and I don't know whether there was something wrong and they missed it, or whether there wasn't something wrong and maybe they made something wrong, or whether there wasn't something wrong and then something did go wrong. Like, this is the problem with the low trust society. I also have a pretty extreme amount of anxiety about mechanics messing with my car. That's what I'm saying. Is like, this is the fundamental problem with a low trust society, is that you can't get the basic things done that you need in life. You can't just fix things how they should be. I guess maybe those mechanics might have done something wrong, or they overlooked something, because maybe if they had looked more closely, then they would have seen a problem with my spark plugs or something. Like, you know, this is what I'm talking about, is it just erodes everything, and there's always cracks showing. And I'm going to tell you my fundamental belief on this. Instead of going through Singapore, which I did want to do, I'm going to finish off I'm going to finish off with this, and then we're going to finish off with good news. Do you want to know? Here's what I'll tell you. If you are interested in doing polling and you want to see how a country is doing, let's say that you want to find out how corrupt a society is. Let's say that that's your new goal. As you say, I want to go to Venezuela and I want to figure out exactly how corrupt the politicians are there. Okay, well, this might be pretty complicated. Maybe I have to go check out the lobbyists and see how much money they're getting. Maybe I have to go check out, you know, the judges. The judges might be important. Maybe the judges are getting bribed. And so we check them, we see if the judges are getting bribed. But this is going to be very difficult, because if we find out that the judges are getting bribed, well, that's a legal problem. And so the judges aren't just going to tell us openly if they're getting bribed. This seems like a very complicated problem to try and figure out how corrupt the society is. It seems very difficult. The funny thing is, it's not difficult to find out how corrupt the society is. It's actually very easy. All you do is you do a simple poll. You just ask people, how corrupt is your country? Point blank. How corrupt is it? And they'll just answer 1 to 10. And then whatever the average is, that's just how corrupt it is. It might seem like this is a bad way, because maybe some people are pessimistic about how corrupt it is. Or maybe some people are optimistic about how corrupt it is. Maybe they don't see the corruption. But here's the problem. The thing is, if you have a corrupt society, then what you realize is the only way for you to get ahead is to be corrupt yourself. The fact that it is corrupt means that you have to yourself engage in this corruption. And so you know, because you are part of the system, you're just another one of the working cogs that is forced to be corrupt in certain cases. If an officer asks you, and if an officer stops you and asks for a bribe, you don't say, oh, I'm uncorruptible. I won't be corrupted. I won't engage in this illegal activity. No, you say, this is just the country I live in. The country I live in has officers that asks for bribes. It's that simple. I give them a bribe. That's just how the country works. And so that's why all you need to do is just do a survey, and that's how you find out how corrupt it is. Now, also you can get more complicated and you can look into the systems and everything. But really, this is the most basic tool to find out about it. And so as soon as you start to think that something is corrupt, as soon as you start to believe that there's some level of wrongdoing, that itself is the breakdown of society. Because then you think that you have to do certain things to get ahead. That every once in a while you have to take a shortcut. Whether it's illegal, whether it's wrong, whether it's whatever, doesn't really matter. As long as you yourself are getting ahead, that's all that matters. Because everyone else is corrupt anyway. So I might as well be the good guy. I'll just be a little bit less corrupt. I'm not as corrupt as everybody else. I just do a little bit of corruption. They do a lot of corruption. And so that's the point. I think people in Vietnam are pretty misled, or at least I get that impression from my Vietnamese friend. A lot of people in those countries are not aware of how corrupt their country is. I don't know, though. I don't know if that's necessarily true. I think if they were legitimately asked point blank on a questionnaire, I think that they would have an idea. That's the point. Either way, the point is that a loss of trust itself is the breakdown of society. Because then, at the same time, I can't feel like I can go to the mechanic, right? So instead of going to the mechanic, I decide, you know what? I'll fix up the truck myself. And so now, instead of specializing in being a doctor or whatever, I have to be a doctor, and in my free time, I need to fix my car. And in my free time, I might have to fix my roof. And in my free time, I might have to fix drywall. Because I can't really trust anybody with it. Maybe I have to fix my plumbing, maybe I have to do some electrical, and then all of a sudden you realize that you're not focusing on your kids as much. They can't get as much of an education because you are spending time on the random silly tasks because you can't trust anybody. Over time, it just leads to a breakdown. That's what happens. It's these little small things. Everybody thinks that it's the straw that broke the camel's back, but it's not. It's not just the one straw. That's the whole point. It's the entire hay bale. Okay? So you got to stop looking at that one straw that happened. You have to stop focusing on that one straw. It's the whole thing. It's the big picture. That's all. But I will go over this good news. The Hubble Space Telescope is getting old. It's going to need a replacement soon. The former Google CEO plans to single-handedly fund a Hubble telescope replacement. This is what I'm saying, is I think that there's good people among the poor. And I think that you might be surprised. I think there's good people among the rich as well. I think that good people are randomly scattered throughout society. And whenever something like this happens, we need to call it out and say, you know what? That is good. This guy is doing something that is good for society. The Hubble Space Telescope has helped us make great and tremendous advancements in science and technology and intrigue, education, all over the world. There's so many random ways that science helps us. I'm really trying not to cough. That's why it looks like I'm about to cry. And this is wonderful. This is good news. Just a random piece of good news. I must depart now. Have a good night. I hope you like the good news. Good night. Not crying. All right. That's all for today. Hopefully I don't get banned because I'm inciting a revolution. I don't think I will. But, you know, fingers crossed. That's all. Good night and goodbye.